fostering women's participation and leadership to unlock a brighter, more inclusive future is what we are going to talk about today in the next 1 hour, right? And I would love to begin with a shloka for this particular panel. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupen Sansatha Namastuste Namastasya Namastasya Namo Namah. That is, our scriptures themselves define the feminine as Shakti, the embodiment of power. However, our modern institutions, yet the power is not equal. It is not in equity. When we talk about inclusion today, we often celebrate the representation of women among men. But this representation without authority is just decoration. Am I correct? Yeah? So, ladies and gentlemen, today's discussion is not about symbolic participation. It is about restoring the structural Shakti in capital, in control, and definitely in command. Now, let me begin with certain statistics. According to the Grant Thornton Women in Business 2024 report, women today hold roughly 1/3, that is approximately 30% of senior management roles globally. However, the McKinsey & Company Women in Workplace 2023 report shows that women remain significantly underrepresented in the revenue line and PL technology leadership roles. The question before us today, and do not be mistaken, we are not here to discuss can women lead? Yes, we are leading. The question is, are systems ready to trust women with scale, with capital, and with control? So it is my honor and privilege to moderate this beautiful session where I think if I do an addition of everyone's experience on the dais, it is more than 100 years. And we are very fortunate here today that our panelists will be discussing their journeys, their challenges, how they could find ways and means and support to be where they are. So before we begin, and I pick on each of our panelists individually, a huge round of applause for making it here, please. A tribute to their journeys. You know, one of the Harvard Business Review articles, and the title is very interesting, Why Men Still Get More Promotions Than Women, and this is by Herminia, Nancy, and Christine, and sorry, they all are ladies who have written this. The review highlights that the career advancement often depends more on sponsorship and access to the networks than formal evaluation systems. So Rohini, I'll come to you. You are leading the Blapon Audio India as the Chief Operating Officer, and if you look at from the electronics consumer industry perspective, it's execution heavy and also male dominated. So what structural or mindset barriers did you actually experience and overcame in your professional journey?
I think Indians culturally are very tech savvy. So let it be a man or a woman, I think our bend, our psychological bend is very maths oriented and logical oriented. So it's not that women cannot get into the tech hardware or the IT. So I think women somehow is preferred culturally to be in a sitting job. So that is the reason they switch their careers to primarily coding or QC checks or whatever is a back-end job where they can do 9 to 6, be at home by 6:30, 7. So it's not that you don't have women in tech industry. I personally come from tech hardware, which is, the devices that you use. Like audio is where you play music, speakers, headphones. I work a lot with the laptop industry as well, and I've been a business person which is front-ending sales and marketing. So that's where women ratio is very less.
Yeah.
Very, very less. Where you go out, you travel a lot, you get into a meeting room which is full of men, and you have to negotiate, you have to talk, you have to pitch, you have to convince. So that's where I would say it is challenging, but I think, but it's a mindset and a confidence that someone said comes something. It's God's grace. It's inherent also, but it's very much related to how you're brought up in a family. So, and a lot of us give credits to our mothers. So I think I'm no different. So my parents never made me realize that I can't go to a profile where I have to travel. So, and I think then I remember I'm born and brought up in Delhi, so we have madam who's from Delhi. So I used to travel from Shambar to Maharani Bagh in a scooty, which is a two-wheeler, and that was a scooty, which is 20 years back. So one day I told my father, I said, I can't travel in these blue lines, because see, we're talking about women like you're not comfortable in traveling in public transportation sometimes. So my father said, okay, I'll give you a two-wheeler, but it's your responsibility. Jahan kharab hoga, wahin tu hi sambhalegi. So that's where I thought, you know what? At least he's giving me the independence. So for 2 days, my father used to drive at my back. So people did not know that he's driving at my back because he just wanted to be sure, like, I'm handling it well. But from after that day, I think I never looked back. So I think my two-bit to every woman who wants to go out, do something in life, is be confident and have it in your mind that you can do it. So that's the only thing I can say.
Beautifully put. I think the mindset shift and the confidence that you build within yourself with the support of the people who matter to you most is, I would say, the summation of your beautiful journey. Thank you for sharing. Ritu, let me get you into, the discussion now. We heard from Rohini that, what it takes to be women in the male-dominated, work roles. What about your personal leadership principle that has helped you to scale impact across the organizations in the role which you play today?
Thanks for this question. Obviously, it's been a long journey, close to 30 years, and one has discovered, rediscovered, reinvented oneself as one has gone along. There are things that you learn, there are things that you drop, unlearn, and then you go along further and pick up new things. But I think for me, what has been very steady since childhood, I would say, and I know, some of my panelists were sharing their experiences earlier before we started this panel as to what have been their moments when the world was against them or they did not get support and they do that. And as I was reflecting, I realized I was lucky enough never to be in a situation where I was not supported. And I think that for that, all the credit that I would want to give, extremely fortunate that my parents have always supported everything that I wanted to do. And maybe I am today where I am because of their unstinted faith and their courage that they have shown and the trust that they have placed in me. Yes, we've had our differences in our approaches. Who doesn't? But at the end of the day, I think what I have observed about myself, and that probably has very subconsciously translated into leadership principles which have held me good since childhood, is a balance between clarity and courage. I remember I was speaking to you, ma'am, before the event, and you said that you were very clear, even when you were studying, that you wanted the doctor name in front of you. right? So, and you were very clear that that's what you wanted. For me, the persona was very clear ever since I was a student, that I always visualized myself as somebody who would be leading in a corporate world. I don't know why. That image was very clear, and I wanted to go out and make a difference in that. And that clarity, I was clear about what I did not want, even as a child. I remember my father asked me when it was time to get into college, what college you want to go into, and I was very clear. I wanted to get into SRCC. I did not get into BCom. I got into economics. I was getting BCom in other colleges, but I was like, no, I want to stay with SRCC. If it's economics, so be it. When the changeover happens and I'm able to move over to BCom, I will do that. Otherwise, SRCC it is. And that clarity has stood me well over the years, whether it is about clarity of purpose, whether it's about clarity in a corporate scenario about making sure that you align and work with teams, whether it's about clarity of the objective, what is it that you are here for to deliver, right? So that clarity in tandem with courage, I would say. And that courage, again, something I've seen, observed about myself probably over the years. Again, as a child, because I was a bit of a rebel, even as a child. So we'll kind of go and do, I have my own mind. Why should I do something because you are asking me to do it? I will do it because I'm convinced about it. So that trait kind of held along. My mother never liked that fact, but I think eventually she gave up on me. But that courage later on helped me to negotiate and work through teams and organizations and positions in multinational organizations, because very often the global organization believes that there's a one-size-fits-all that should happen for everywhere. What's good for US should happen in India. What's good for US should happen somewhere else. But that's not how it is. And we know that for those of us who've dealt with customers, for those of us who've been in the marketing space, any business will have its own local peculiarities and nuances. And you need to be able to respect that. You need to be able to adapt to that. So that courage stood out for me at that point of time, because I would always give a pushback to the global organization when I wanted something which was specific and need-based and relevant for my market, as against go and do something which is expected for you to do. So I think that tandem and that balance and that combination of these two has really stood me well. When everything around me has been chaotic and shifting, I think I've always gone back to clarity and courage for myself. Because I think as women, that is what we need to kind of be very, very sensitive about and be aware of, is that when everything around you is shifting, what is it that can hold you in good stead? And for me, it has been these two, because they travel across industries. These two principles have helped me travel across industries, across borders, across people, but they have stood me well. So I think that's my story.
Clarity and courage. And not only in what you think, what you want to do, but also to back up your own decisions, own them, right? So from your, owning a scooty to drive and not to travel in public transport, especially the blue lines. I remember blue lines, oh my God. I mean, it was nearly molestation every day with the kind of rush. And we were traveling in rush hours, right? So you are lucky that your parents supported you there in college to get you with the two-wheeler. Girls were hardly, driving at that point in time, forget a two-wheeler. And that clarity and that courage to do so. Giving the confidence to parents that we can do it, support us. It's a big ask and big support. And I think we have heard from veterans in the industry. So let me bring young blood, the next generation director, Arushi, to the discussion now. And you are into manufacturing, right? And do younger women face bias differently now? Because our biases were very different than your generation biases. So is there a subtle skepticism around, when women take a leadership role? You're a director, so I'm pretty sure that even the ones which we talk about might sound alien to you. What exactly it is? We have faced overt resistances, but what about you?
Great question. It is true, absolutely true, that there are biases still existing even today. Although earlier the biases were very different as to denial, resistance, and all of those things. Now they're, like packaged with politeness. So something as in, are you sure? I think we should consult someone senior. So there are biases. So how I personally overcome them is I sort of go in prepared. That's something that I've been doing as a child. So you have to speak the language of the ecosystem. So know your BOM, considering it's a manufacturing, male-dominated, driven industry. Know your BOM, know your EBITDA, know your distributor margins, know your defect ratio, and all of those things. When you speak the language of the ecosystem, the credibility to your persona or to your age sort of disappears. It's not that it suddenly vanishes, it's just that competence sort of brings in the confidence. So that is one thing that I've believed all across, that come prepared, be more aware of the language being said, and do your homework before being present in maybe a meeting room or a boardroom. So.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said. Competence. Right? Do you actually showcase that? You adapt to the environment. You pick the lingo of the environment. I think our mothers are most capable of doing this. वो मूड देख के समझ जाती हैं कि हंसना है या हंसाना है, डांटना है या रुलाना है, क्या करना है, right? And that equation is with all the members in the family and the extended family also. And they're so competent to get the things done their way that we hardly realize that. But when we step out of the houses, we forget that we have that power. We just need to remember that, confidence multiplies when we know our competence, when we know our capabilities. And that's what drives women of success. So I have another very interesting study coming from McKinsey and Company, Diversity Wins, How Inclusion Matters report. This is 2020 report. And it clearly says that the top quartile of gender diversity on executive teams actually have higher percentage of revenue and profitability. That means the companies which have the most diverse executive teams onboarded are more profitable than on an average other companies. So that brings me, Chetna, now into discussion. Chetna, are organizations still measuring gender equity through dashboards, or they're still managing the optics?
Thank you, Shweta. Very interesting question. Parity dashboards are there in corporate, but the numbers that are needed to achieve, whether those numbers are being achieved, that's the question mark. So when it comes to more and more women coming into employment, that is true that more and more people, more women are now coming into employment. But are they reaching the leadership levels? Are they reaching the CEO's position? That is still the question. So there is certainly a need to track their career through pay parity, equal promotions, giving them equal playground, equal opportunities, and leadership hand-holding them, so that there are more and more CEOs in the system. And unless and until the leadership of the any organization is totally invested into this idea of gender parity, it's only optics. It's not creating really an impact, basically. According to a study, there are only 4 CEOs as against 4 women CEOs as against 100 male CEOs in India. Globally, this number is like 10%. For every 100 men CEOs, 10 are women. This number at global level also, it's only 10%. So I think not only in India, at global level, a lot has to change. It has to be like at least 50-50, if not more. So this is what.
Yeah, amazing. And I think thank you so much for putting this together, because my next question, Rohini, comes to you, is what are the practical steps that the organization need to take to retain women beyond the mid-management level? As such, the study also shows, and rightly said by Chetna, that the induction of women at the entry levels, and especially in STEM, is more than 50%. It's around 60% today. But there's a huge leakage as you move from your entry-level jobs to your mid-level career. So, with your experience, what do what practical suggestions you'd like to give to organization to retain women at the mid-level and beyond mid-level management?
I think 1 in 10 women drops when they get pregnant, and 50% of the women drops when their kids go to the another cycle of their development. So, since we have one politician here, so that's I think in my opinion, like I wish I would have had the money to sponsor you when I don't have that much of money to get into social entrepreneurship at this time. But I think in India we do not have childcare. We do not have crutches, kids care centers where women gets the confidence that if I don't have my parents supporting me in the development of my child, I can leave him or her at a safe place, and I can spend my 9-10 hours at my office. Or if she has to travel, then probably she will need some support from from her husband also. So any women who have either parents or in-laws supporting her, then she progresses. So, but if she doesn't have that infrastructure, she doesn't have an option than to drop out. So I think my request to everyone is like, if we can develop some kind of infrastructure for women, to kind of, because see, women has to take care of both. So no matter how we try to compete with men, no matter how we say that we are equal, no, there is a difference between both of you, and it's better we accept. So you have to do 2 jobs, you have to do 2 jobs. So if the other job is not supported, you'll have to leave one. So that's exactly what is happening. I think once that infrastructure is developed, then probably I think you will see very less women dropping out and progressing the C-level executive. My example, I did not marry. So because I was so focused, and I knew that if I choose the other side, I'll not be able to do what I'm doing at this time. And thank goodness that my parents were okay. But I don't want every woman to take that step. So I think that's exactly my answer to your question is that would retain a lot of women at executive levels.
So I think to add to this, yes, ma'am, please.
उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा विषय छेड़ा कि महिलाएं ड्रॉप आउट करती हैं क्योंकि उनकी पारिवारिक जिंदगी के कारण। पर मुझे लगता है कि हम सब महिलाएं जो इस लेवल पर आ गई हैं उनको भी कुछ करना पड़ेगा। जो मैं कह रही हूँ ना कि देश बदलना है, समाज बदलना है, पहले हमको, जो खुद सीईओ डायरेक्टर के लेवल पे चली गई महिलाएं, उनसे मेरा सच में एक आग्रह है कि क्या हम वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जिसकी ये बात कर रही हैं, एक ऐसी संस्था जो सिर्फ विमेन ओरिएंटेड होगी, आज आप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर में हैं या आप सॉफ्टवेयर का काम कर रहे हैं, क्या उसमें हम तय करके 100% एम्प्लॉयमेंट महिलाओं को दें, क्योंकि ये वही लोग कर पाएंगे जो इस रिस्क को बेयर कर पाएंगे। इन्होंने वो रिस्क लिया कि मैंने शादी नहीं की, मैंने एक साइड चुनी, बट कुछ लोगों को ऐसा प्रयास जरूर करना पड़ेगा लाइफ में। ठीक है, आप 100% पे नहीं आ सकते, पहले 10 से 20% पे आइए, बट उन 20% को उनके बच्चे संभालने के लिए देखिए। अगर एक महिला, आप सब महिलाएं जिन लोगों ने शादी करी वो इस बात से एग्री होंगी, क्योंकि मेरा भी बेटा है 28 साल का, वो शादी लायक है। मैंने राजनीति के पटल पे मुझे 20 साल में वो मिला जहां पे मैं आज हूं। जो स्ट्रगल का पीरियड होता है उसमें कोई और साथी नहीं होता आपका, स्ट्रगल सिर्फ आपकी होती है। जब आप सक्सेस स्टोरी हो जाती है तो आपके साथ लोग आ जाते हैं, बट उस दौर में देखिए, अगर हमने सक्सेस पाते पाते अपने बच्चे और परिवार खो दिया, एक लाइन को हमेशा याद रखना चाहिए कि जब हम घर की दहलीज के पटल पर आ गए तो हम सारे ओहदे छोड़कर आए। तब हम घर परिवार के ही हैं। हम किसी की पत्नी हो सकते हैं, किसी की बहू हो सकते हैं, किसी की माँ हो सकते, बट उस पटल, उस दहलीज के अंदर जाने के बाद अपना ओहदा छोड़ना पड़ेगा। उन्हीं लोगों की जिंदगी में सक्सेस है। अगर आप राजनीति में भी देखेंगी, राजनीति में बहुत सारी महिलाएं शादीशुदा हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि सब सिंगल है। बट जो आपने कहा कि उसमें हमारे को, क्योंकि राजनीति के पटल पे आपको अकेले स्ट्रगल करना होता है, वहां पे कोई तयशुदा समय भी नहीं है कि आपकी डिग्री होल्डिंग में 3 साल लगेंगे कि 30 साल लगेंगे, वहां नहीं मालूम। बट आप जिस काम को कर रही हैं, अगर आप उसमें एक महिलाओं को और चीज सीखनी पड़ेगी कि विमेंस डे एक ही दिन का है क्या? आज हम विमेंस डे पे सारे मंच पे बैठे लोग भी और नीचे बैठे लोग भी बात कर रहे हैं, पर जिस दिन मेरी तबीयत खराब होगी तो मैं सबसे पहले दवाई का डिब्बा ढूंढ के उसमें से क्रोसिन खाऊंगी या पैरासीटामोल खाऊंगी और आई विल बी ओके। अनटिल अनलेस मेरी जिंदगी में बहुत ज्यादा तकलीफ नहीं हो जाएगी, मैं डॉक्टर को विजिट नहीं करूंगी, क्योंकि मैंने अपने लिए कभी जिया ही नहीं। पर क्या मैं मेरे पति के साथ ये करती हूं? मेरे पति को जरा सा कुछ हो या मेरे बच्चे को कुछ हो तो मुझे डॉक्टर दिखाई देता है, पर महिला को खुद कभी नहीं दिखता। उसको भी बदलना पड़ेगा, उसको भी हमें ऐसे ही नरिश करना पड़ेगा कि तुम्हारी भी इंपॉर्टेंस है। आप सोचो कि आज महिलाओं को कैंसर हो या जो भी बीमारियां हो, उनको वो आखिरी स्टेज पे मालूम होती है। क्यों? क्योंकि वो अवेयर ही नहीं है। हमको अपने लिए भी आधा घंटा चाहिए, 15 मिनट चाहिए। ये सब आपके, देखो आप ही लोग कर सकते हो। ये मैं नेता होने के कारण हम मंचों से कह सकते हैं। असल बदलाव कहाँ आएगा? जहां हम काम कर रहे हैं। हम काम करते हुए हमको थोड़ा सा उन्हें पुश करना पड़ेगा। और मैं 100% गारंटी से कह रही हूं, जैसे बाहर लोग वर्क फ्रॉम होम करते हैं ना, उनको ये मालूम रहता है। ये कल्चर हमें तो पिछले कोविड से ही सीखने को मिला। मेरी सिस्टर इन लॉ, शी स्टेज इन अमेरिका, तो वो मुझे बोला करती थी, भाभी आई वर्क ओनली फॉर 3 days एंड रेस्ट 2 days आई वर्क फ्रॉम होम। मेरे को समझ ही नहीं आता था 20 साल पहले कि ये वर्क फ्रॉम होम क्या होता है यार। उसके बच्चे हुए तो वो पता चला जी 3 दिन उसका पति वर्क फ्रॉम होम है, 3 दिन वो वर्क फ्रॉम होम है। हमको ये कंसेप्ट ही कोविड में समझ में आया। कोविड में हम सब ने काम किया, घर से काम किया और हमको आपदा में अवसर मिला। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये सब काम जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं उनको करना पड़ेगा। थोड़ा सा समाज को पुश करना पड़ेगा, उन महिलाओं को थोड़ा स्पेस देना पड़ेगा। बट आप उनका काम तय करिए, उनके टारगेट्स तय करिए, बट उनको एक्स्ट्रा वेटेज थोड़ी सी दीजिए। तो मुझे लगता है कि अगर हम आज 5%, आज हम 10% पे हैं, हमारे टेन्योर में हम 20% पे भी आ गए, तो धीरे 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 हम जो टारगेट अचीव करना चाहते हैं वो कर पाएंगे। ठीक है? और साथ में याद रखिए कि हमारे लिए हर दिन विमेंस डे, कोई एक दिन के लिए विमेन डे की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि हम 8 तारीख के बाद सब भूल जाने वाले हैं, फिर अगले साल याद आएगा।
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such valid points. And I think every woman entrepreneur and every woman who's leading an organization should also arrange with HR the paternity leave for males. It's not that males don't want to come and help at home. They also understand equal responsibility. Our males have become cosmo enough to understand that अगर गृहस्थी की पटरी पे गाड़ी चलानी तो दोनों टायर्स को सेम साइज का और सेम ही हवा भरी होनी चाहिए। बट डू दे गेट दैट अपॉर्चुनिटी? सो आई वाज वेरी फॉर्चुनेट टू वर्क फॉर NIT Limited and I'm taking you back to the year 2000 where for the first time for 15 days paternity leave was taken by one of my colleagues and said ये paternity leave क्या होती है? मतलब क्या करने जा रहे हो तुम? कहते मेरे घर में एक नन्हा बालक आने वाला है, बालिका आने वाली है और मैं उसकी देखभाल के लिए जा रहा हूँ। एंड वी वर सो थ्रिल्ड। आई सेड ये पॉलिसी है? दे सेड हाँ ये पॉलिसी NIT Limited में है। We were in teaching, so teaching predominantly is female oriented, right? You will have more females than males, but wherever the males are, I felt proud to work for NIT Limited. Why? Because they saw that गाड़ी के पहिए अगर इकट्ठे चलने हैं गृहस्थी चलाने के लिए, तो इक्वल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी उठाने के लिए वही बेनिफिट्स मेल्स को भी होने चाहिए जो फीमेल्स को है। आई थिंक दैट वाज टोटल इंक्लूसिविटी, राइट? बट there's another question which Chetna I would again draw to you. How can operational leadership roles become stronger pipelines for women to transition into CEO positions? So operational roles means that you're out there in field. All of us have been, right? But do they open the role for the absolute leadership? That's what I want to understand, and what we need to do there. You know, what kind of grooming and support and mentorship is required there for the ultimate executive position in a company?
So I think operational leadership, when it is given to a woman or for that matter anybody, it brings the business strength. So it teaches one how the P&L is managed, how the profitability is managed, how money is made, how businesses are run, how crises are handled, how teams work under pressure. I would say still women are there, but they are still in supporting roles more than in leadership roles. They are still in organizations also. Most of them are in the roles which are supporting the leaders basically. So it is actually, there is a need to give them operational roles wherein they get on ground experience. They come to know, they learn how the businesses are built, how the businesses are run. They are accountable for the profitability, and this can only come when the leadership is totally invested. As ma'am also said, it doesn't only have to change at your workplace. The mindset shift has to happen at home also. If you are in a leadership role outside your home, and at home you are the primary caretaker of your home and your child and everything, you're responsible for cooking, it doesn't work that way. So the mindset shift has to come not only at your workplace, also at your home. So this is what
I think that's beautifully said, and I think there's one more pertinent thing which Ritu I would ask to you. Women are working, women are leading, but what about their visibility? Right? So Ritu, is visibility power? And how can women leaders bring strategic visibility without being boxed into stereotypes?
Is visibility power? I'm going to ask the audience. Does visibility give you power? Power gives you visibility. I have in my career, and I was one of them, I will accept that. And even now when I coach mid-level to senior level women leaders especially, women have always believed that my work should speak for itself. Why do I have to go and talk about it? मैं काम कर रही हूँ, सबको पता चल जाना चाहिए मैं कितना काम कर रही हूँ, क्या काम कर रही हूँ, कहाँ contribution है, and I should get rewarded accordingly. Does it happen like that? Right? So if visibility to me is an opportunity for you to create the story and tell your story and own your narrative the way you want to do it, versus having other people decide for you what your narrative and what your perception to the world should be, and that invariably will be boxed into stereotypes. So very often women are either known for their smart communication skills or for their style, but not so much for their strategy or not so much for their competence. You spoke about competence, right? So yes, visibility is power. It is your ability to influence the narrative. It is your ability to influence a lot of things. And ये अकल मुझे भी बहुत देर बाद आई थी, because I was one of those who would believe कि ठीक है काम कर रहे हो अच्छा, your boss is noticing it and that should, he or she will take care of it, but that is not how it happens. That's the bitter reality of the world today. So when I got an opportunity, I made sure that I got visibility and my team got visibility, because who am I as a leader if I'm not able to lead my team? I'm a nobody without my team. So my team is getting visibility, then I will automatically get visibility. That has always been one of my principles. So yes, visibility is important, but the flip of that is very often, and I've seen a lot of leaders do that, visibility for the sake of visibility without really having any content or without really having any substance. Right? So yes, power does create visibility, but if that power is not rooted in competence, which I'm sure you will agree, then it's just visibility, it's just coakley visibility, it's not going to give you anything. So you need to have a balanced approach, and I would insist, especially, and I'm saying this mostly for women, that we have to get out of that mindset which says my work will speak for itself or my manager will take care of me. No. If you are refusing to take care of yourself, if you are refusing to own your narrative, then why will somebody else owe it to you? You have to go out and grab whatever you think is rightfully yours and drive it the way you would want to. That's what I would say.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we say from Mahanatya that what you stand for, own it, be visible, do your personal branding. You will be known, your company would be known by you as a leader. Who are you is the first thing the investors, the supporters, the vendors for that matter would like to know before they would like to work with you or your company. So build your personal brand, because with visibility comes power, and power can only retain when you have competence, right? And I think wrapping this panel discussion with so much wisdom, the last word from you, Arushi, what advice you would give to young women so that when they make a career in male-dominated industries, they feel already equipped listening to you. Yeah, over to you.
I think one advice that I would like to give to next gen women would be being capable. Like we all heard today, it's obviously very important to be skilled and capable, but also take care of the perception that people are having of you, and be mindful of that perception so that your perception also travels apart from your capability. They travel together and go hand in hand. So don't miss that out, because that's something that I've also gained today from this panel discussion.